Okay, good evening and welcome to the analysis session. And today we are going to talk about Countdown Mock CLAT 7, which happened last weekend. So as you all know, हम लोग जो भी weekend पे mocks होते हैं उनको pick करते हैं analysis के लिए. And we have so now the frequency of mocks, I'm sure you know, has increased, and you are writing almost 3 mocks every week, kind of, actually, because every weekend you have mocks, and in between you have mock on Wednesday and Thursday. So 3 mocks लिखने पड़ रहे हैं, but I think that is how it should be at this point of time. देखो concept clarity I'm sure most of लोगों को अब तक already हो चुकी है, तो ये time है अपने strategy को consolidate करने का, और उसके लिए मॉक ही इंपॉर्टेंट है इस समय अगर बात करें तो. So we'll talk about Countdown Mock 7 today, and I'm sure people are still joining, but some familiar names I can see. Good evening, Palak, and good evening, everyone. Those who have joined so far, I'm sure students will be joining very soon. कल सबने गोविंद सर का क्लास अटेंड किया था, तो आज श्योर आप एनालिसिस के लिए डेफिनेटली आ रहे हो, और कल हम लोग दोनों दोबारा मिलेंगे आपसे 10 दिन 2 मंथ वाली स्ट्रैटेजी पे. तो बढ़ते हैं आगे. First of all, allow me to welcome Govind sir. Govind, thank you for joining the session. और आज का जो सेशन है वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि अब देखो टेक्निकली तो अब 2 महीने से कम समय बच गया है. एंड आई एम श्योर यू कैन सी ऑन द स्क्रीन कि इफ आई काउंट टुडे इटसेल्फ, वैसे तो आधे से ज्यादा दिन जा चुका है, बट इफ आई काउंट टुडे इटसेल्फ इज जस्ट अबाउट 57 डेज लेफ्ट. और मुझसे पूछोगे तो मैं तो 57 डेज बोलूंगा भी नहीं, मैं तो बोलूंगा 56 डेज. मैं आज को काउंट भी कर लेता हूं तो भी 56 डेज बोलूंगा, इसलिए कि मैं 30th नवंबर को काउंट नहीं करता हूं. 30th नवंबर इज योर डे टू एंजॉय बिफोर द पेपर, तो उसको काउंट नहीं करते हैं. तो टेक्निकली देखा जाए तो 56 डेज ही बचते हैं अब यहां से लेकर के क्लैट पेपर को अगर हम बात करें तो. Another 5-6 days for the LAT paper, and those will be taking symbiosis if required. Definitely will have few more days. Okay. तो आज हम बात करेंगे काउंटडाउन मॉक 7 की, जो क्लैट पैटर्न बेस्ड था, और सीधा चलते हैं, सीधा सेशन स्टार्ट करते हैं, एंड विल लुक एट ईच ऑफ द सेक्शंस. तो पहले एजेंडा सेट कर लेते हैं कि आज हम सेशन में कवर क्या करेंगे. तो देखो, ये जो एनालिसिस होता है ना, इसमें हम आपको इनसाइट्स देते हैं क्वेश्चन बाय क्वेश्चन. तो आपको अटेम्प्ट वर्सेस एक्यूरेसी, जो पैन इंडिया स्टूडेंट्स ने एग्जाम लिखा है, हम उसके बारे में बात करते हैं. वी टॉक अबाउट हाउ द परफॉर्मेंस हैज बीन. Of course, we do not have all the data because more than 3,500 students take each of the mock. तो यहाँ पर क्या है कि फिलहाल ये मॉक जो है मंडे तक ओपन था, तो मेजरली डेटा जो होता है वो जो नियरेस्ट लोकेशंस होती है उनका ही है और ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स का है, बट दैट गिव्स अस अ फेयर आइडिया. तो आज हम बात करेंगे जिस मॉक की, विच इज काउंटडाउन मॉक 7. इसको टोटल जो डेटा अभी मेरे पास दोपहर में जब मैंने डेटा निकाला था बिफोर वी मेड दिस प्रेजेंटेशन फॉर यू, तो 771 स्टूडेंट्स का डेटा रजिस्टर हुआ था. आई एम श्योर कल शाम को बहुत सारे, कल छुट्टी भी थी तो बहुत सारे मॉक्स, बहुत सारे ओएमआर अभी स्कैन नहीं हुए, तो आज होंगे और कल होंगे, तो डेटा डेफिनेटली थोड़ा सा चेंज हो जाएगा फॉर एवरीवन एक्चुअली. So we'll look at the scores. We'll look at from an overview perspective the performance of the top 100 students. जो data available है for the students whose mocks answers were recorded, चाहे वो MR के through हो, चाहे वो online mock performance के through हो. Then we'll move on to each of the section where I and Govind sir will be talking about the respective section. कैसा अटेम्प्ट रहा, कितने परसेंट स्टूडेंट्स ने पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन को अटेम्प्ट किया, क्या एक्यूरेसी देखने को मिले इस पर्टिकुलर मॉक में, और फाइनली विल एंड द सेशन विद द एक्शन प्लान. तो अब जब 60 डेज से कम समय बचा है, तो क्या एक्शन प्लान होना चाहिए इस समय हमारा, डिपेंडिंग ऑन एट व्हाट स्टेज आई एम एज अ स्टूडेंट इन माय प्रिपरेशन. तो आप में से बहुत लोग काफी समय से तैयारी कर रहे हो, तो आपका एक्शन प्लान जो है वो डेफिनेटली डिफरेंट होगा एज कंपेयर टू समबडी हु माइट हैव स्टार्टेड दिस मंथ आई मीन सितंबर में किसी ने शुरू किया या किसी ने अगस्त में शुरू किया, तो थोड़ा वेरिएशन रहेगा, बट काफी चीजें कॉमन होंगी. तो विल टॉक अबाउट दैट एक्शन प्लान. एंड नॉट टू फॉरगेट कि देखो, तुम्हारा नेक्स्ट ऑल इंडिया मॉक जो है, जिसको नॉन सीएल स्टूडेंट्स भी लिखेंगे, तो जो एम क्लैट है वो शेड्यूल्ड है 5th और 6th अक्टूबर को. तो ये 2 दिन, इस वीकेंड सैटरडे और संडे 2 दिन आपको मौका है ऑल इंडिया मॉक क्लैट लिखने का, विच इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी वेरी कॉम्पिटिटिव, क्योंकि यहाँ पे काफी सारे नॉन सीएल स्टूडेंट्स भी रजिस्टर कर रहे हैं जो ये मॉक लिखेंगे. तो मैं क्विकली पहले एक बार डेटा दिखा देता हूं, फिर मैं और गोविंद सर विल टॉक अबाउट ईच ऑफ दीज सेक्शंस। ओके, तो सबसे पहले जैसा मैंने अभी बताया थोड़ी देर पहले, सो व्हाट इज द total number of records we are looking at today? We are looking at a total of, hold on for a second, I think I may have missed this slide. Yeah, so we are looking at a total of 771 records as of now, which was available to me till 2 p.m. today. So I'm sure this data might have even changed further by now, but 771 records की हम बात कर रहे हैं। उसमें से जो टॉप 100 परफॉर्मर्स हैं उनका अगर हम रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन सेक्शन की बात करते हैं, सो द एवरेज स्कोर टर्न्स आउट टू बी 17.75 आउट ऑफ 24। जनरल नॉलेज सेक्शन की बात करते हैं तो 21.32 आउट ऑफ 28 in the legal section. This is out of 32. लॉजिकल रीजनिंग डेफिनेटली थोड़ा सा टफ रहा डेफिनेटली स्टूडेंट्स के लिए। तो यहाँ पे 24 में से जो एवरेज स्कोर आया है वो 16.3 है। और क्वांटिटेटिव टेक्निक्स, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दिस इज अ लो स्कोर, बहुत हाई भी नहीं है, बट एक अच्छा, एक डिसेंट स्कोर है आउट ऑफ 12। द बेस्ट पार्ट इज कि काफी सारे स्टूडेंट्स जो हैं वो अब धीरे धीरे समझ गए हैं कि क्वांटिटेटिव टेक्निक्स को अप्रोच किया जा सकता है, उसको अटेम्प्ट किया जा सकता है। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो और इस मॉक में तो काफी सारे इजी क्वेश्चंस तो अगर आपने मिस आउट किया उस डेटा को भी मैं शो करूंगा सेक्शन वाइज जब एनालिसिस अभी करते हैं। तो ध्यान देना कि मतलब क्या मिस्टेक हुई थी। जब दोबारा आज एनालाइज करोगे, इसको दोबारा अपना डेटा देखोगे तो डेफिनेटली पिक अप दोस इजी क्वेश्चंस, सी व्हाई यू डिड नॉट अटेम्प्ट दैट, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। सो वंस अगेन क्विक रिकैप, 771 रिकॉर्ड्स की हम बात कर रहे हैं। ये टॉप 100 स्टूडेंट्स का परफॉर्मेंस है। तो सीधा चलते हैं इंग्लिश पे, रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन सेक्शन पे पहले, एंड दिस इज हाउ इट वाज। तो बिफोर आई इनवाइट गोविंद सर फॉर हिज टेक ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन, ओवरऑल टेक, जो डेटा है वो क्या कहता है। देखो जो ब्लू बार है, लेट मी रिमाइंड एवरीवन, द ब्लू बार इज द percentage of students who attempted this particular question, which means अगर 771 स्टूडेंट्स का हम डेटा देख रहे हैं तो ऑलमोस्ट उसमें से 90% स्टूडेंट ने इस क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 को अटेम्प्ट किया था। और ये जो सेकंड बार है ये रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है दैट परसेंट ऑफ स्टूडेंट विद इन दिस नंबर हु गॉट इट करेक्ट। ठीक है, ओवरऑल 771 की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे। 90% स्टूडेंट्स, लगभग 650 स्टूडेंट्स ने इस क्वेश्चन को अटेम्प्ट किया और उसमें से 60% स्टूडेंट का ये आंसर जो था वो सही था, मतलब बाकियों के आंसर गलत हुए। एंड व्हाट इज द रेंज वी फॉलो? अगर आपका जो यहां पर एक्यूरेसी जो दिखने को मिलती है, अगर वो 0 to 30% करेक्ट है, 0 to 30% करेक्ट है, तो देन वी से कि वो डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन था। तो जो भी रेड बार्स आपको दिख रहे हैं वो डेफिनेटली स्टूडेंट्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस थे। जो भी ऑरेंज बार्स हैं वो मीडियम डिफिकल्टी लेवल के थे, 40 to 70% की रेंज में। और जहां पर भी 70% ऊपर है, जो ग्रीन बार्स है, द ग्रीन बार्स व्हिच यू आर लुकिंग एट, that represent that this questions were definitely easy. So the green bars represent the easy question. और अगर इस सेक्शन की बात करोगे तो we have a lot of them in terms of easy and medium. इस सेक्शन में 3 ही क्वेश्चंस डिफिकल्ट थे जो आपका डेटा है, जो स्टूडेंट्स का परफॉर्मेंस है वो बता रहा है। The fact remains कि फिर भी जो एवरेज स्कोर है वो 17.7 है instead of being around 19 or 20. So Govind, what's your take about this performance?
Absolutely. So firstly, thank you for having me here. Always a delight to be in the mock analysis session. And with just 57 days, I'm sure all of us, all of the aspirants are very excited and on their toes with every respective mock. थोड़ा सा enthusiasm आज कम लग रहा है chat box में. If you guys are here, if you're alive, if you're listening, can I get a yes in the chat box before I proceed with the analysis? A yes in the chat box. अगर सब लोग जिंदा हैं, वरना प्रवचन देके मैं और सर चले जाएंगे, उससे तो फायदा नहीं होगा। Is everyone alive? Can I get a yes very quickly in the chat box? We have 34 people watching us. Okay,
so
Mukti
finally
zinda
the first yes come from Mukti. Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait for 5 more seconds. Okay, everyone is alive and kicking. Okay, let's begin our analysis. So Amitendra sir has set the agenda for the day, and he has also given you some insights on the English section, that 3 questions are the ones which are having red bar, which means a low accuracy. Arko will come to the final conclusion whether this was a moderate one or a difficult one. Let's go through the section-wise analysis first. So I here sort of disagree with these three particular questions being difficult. Now I can understand why this question was attempted as in a wrong way by most of the aspirants, but ये question ऐसा था जो नहीं गलत होने चाहिए थे. All the three questions, question 2, question 4 and question 22, they had certain sense of technicality with respect to you reading the questions carefully. If you would have read and understood the question carefully, you would not have gotten this wrong. These were not tough questions. These were not complex questions. These were just questions which tested your level of awareness in the exam. So if you attempted the English section probably at the last, I can understand that you could not grasp the question. But if that's not the case, then these three questions would be fairly easy to answer. Amitendra sir, allow me to please share my screen. I'll discuss the questions very quickly.
Sure. Go ahead.
Because these are questions which you should learn from. See, I hope all of you can see my screen. Is my screen visible, guys? Can I get a yes? If the screen is visible, can you guys read the question? Is it legible? Yes, no? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no? Yes. Okay, perfect.
So we'll
All
wait
right.
for a couple of
So
seconds. I can see his screen has frozen now. Yeah. So he's back.
okay, am I audible? Am I visible? Is everything okay?
Yeah, you are
So
audible. Yes.
okay, perfect. So looking at the second question, which says the phrase gruesome seriousness in the passage most likely refers to what? So if you look at the passage, where is gruesome seriousness mentioned here? That the gruesome seriousness, the clumsy obtrusiveness. Now, this shows you that the passage gives you hints. What are the hints? The phrases around the phrase which is being asked. What is the context? Understand the context. The clumsy obtrusiveness for what? For approaching truth so far. It has been awkward, it has been improper. So the passage is giving you a lot of hints about awkwardness in approaching the truth. And that is directly given to you as an option. Option D. I do not understand why would you go with any other option when this is directly mentioned that gruesome seriousness refers to the awkwardness in approaching the truth. And that is directly mentioned in the option D. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि it is twisted, complex, or hidden in some sense. It's directly mentioned. So this should not have been wrong. Now, talking about question 4, now I can understand why this question would have been wrong for a lot of people. You would have overemphasized on the word scoffers. Scoffers usually means who denies an idea or who criticizes an idea. But understand what the author is saying and what the scoffers are saying. See, for there are scoffers who claim that it has fallen. So scoffers are saying that it has fallen. What has fallen? Dogmatism has fallen. What is the author saying? The author is saying that she was not allowed herself to be won today, and every kind of dogmatism is left standing dispirited and discouraged, which also means fallen. So the author is saying dogmatism has fallen. Scoffers are also claiming dogmatism has fallen. So what is happening? Is the author supporting the scoffers or is he being critical of the scoffers? Obviously, he's supporting the scoffers. Both of them are saying that dogmatism is declining, and B becomes a very obvious choice. He's not admiring it, he's not criticizing it, he's not skeptical of it. He's simply supporting what the scoffers are saying, that dogmatism is dispirited, discouraged, fallen. All of that means the same thing. Dogmatism is dying. Simple question, guys. Should have understood the context in which scoffers has been mentioned and what is it most likely to be, the author's attitude, supportive. Now, talking about question number 22, that's also very interesting. See, here it was a poem based passage. These are always a little tricky, I understand that, but you had to get the essence of the poem in question number 22. And this is what you guys missed. The question was saying, in the context of the passage, the silence whistling past my ears at the end most likely represents what? You did not have to tell the meaning of it. You did not have to tell the paraphrased version of it. You have to tell what is the representation, what is the broader theme, what is the underlying issue which the author is trying to present. So if you look at the poem, he is telling you about nature and how he's not getting answers from nature. They're not telling me anything. Never understood the beauty of destruction. And water and ice are having their way. Moment will never come. Weathering of my life into smaller and smaller pieces until there is nothing but this silence whistling past my ears. So now the question is saying that you have to tell that silence whistling past my ears most likely represents what? Now, it's very easy to confuse it with option B, saying that the emptiness the speaker feels. But this is not the representation. This is the meaning of it. The representation is the author has accepted the life's transience. And that is what the right answer is. What is the underlying theme which the author is presenting? That life is fleeting, life is transient, life is changing, nature is not giving him answers. So that is that. Nature ka indifference to human struggles. Now, this is something which can confuse you and throw you off topic, but this is an example. This is a metaphor which the author is using, comparing nature with human struggles to prove what? To prove the acceptance of life's transience. So, answer C becomes the most apparent and obvious choice. And this is how you need to get to the questions in a more I would say vigilant manner, more awareness के साथ आपको questions को approach करना है कि question actually आपसे क्या चाहता है, meaning चाहता है, representation चाहता है, refers to चाहता है, या फिर author का agreement disagreement with a particular word चाहता है in a particular context. So this is where you guys are probably not approaching it with the right thought process, and this is something which we can definitely work on. This is something which can be improved with practice, with caution, and with uh, having that awareness कि ये mistake मुझे दोबारा से नहीं करनी. Sir, I would like you to come back to the presentation and
Yeah,
let's
sure.
move ahead with the
So,
next.
while the meantime, I upload the presentation once again. I'm taking those two questions which are also there. So now Advika has a question why the passages are so short, because of course when we look at the syllabus page of the consortium, it does says passages up to 450 words. Advika, it is not 450 plus, it is up to 450 words. But then if you look at the last 5 papers, it's not always up to 450 even. Actually, sometimes it is only 230, 240 as well. At the same time, if you look at the sample papers so far, the two, one withdrawn, one another given, actually, there have been short passages, while for the second, before that, this mock was created. So that is because you never know what consortium will do, what kind of paper. At the same time, Mishika is asking what is the probability of poem coming as a passage in CLAT. It might be zero, it might be 100% as well. And that is where mocks help you out actually, because we try to anticipate what could possibly come new, or even a change could be there. Now, we spoke about the GK section in the earlier session, day before yesterday, actually. See how the sample paper has given GK. There's no mention of the passages. So can I say? I don't know, because even that can happen actually. So we have to be ready actually. We have to anticipate everything. And that's why the mocks are designed to help you understand, okay, even if there is a change, you are not shocked in the actual examination hall. The shock is here, is okay, but not in the actual exam. अब आते हैं सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग डेटा पे. 1.3% of 771 have even managed to score a negative. जीरो से भी नीचे जा सकते हैं हम. 6%, which means almost 45 people scored zero. In fact, I'll give you exact data. I was working on this. English की अगर हम बात करें, 47 students scored zero in this section, and 203, for the data I'm talking about, scored between 0.25 to 10. 10 से नीचे और पॉजिटिव स्कोर है. बट लुक एट दिस नंबर, दिस इज ऑलमोस्ट 203 आउट ऑफ 771. दैट इज व्हाट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. I mean, what was going in your mind? What was the reason? Did you probably if you attempted it last, you didn't give much time? To that extent, I can understand. But those who managed to get this and this, मतलब ये तो ला ही सकते हैं. इसके लिए तो बहुत मेहनत की होगी कि मतलब ये लेकर के आए नेगेटिव में स्कोर. यार नहीं आता है, छोड़ दो. नेगेटिव में कैसे जा सकते हो? और इतना नेगेटिव यहाँ पे लोगों को -2.5 तक नेगेटिव गया है. आप -2.5 का मतलब समझते हो, -2 का नेगेटिव मतलब समझते हो, आपके 8 क्वेश्चन मतलब ऑलमोस्ट 8 क्वेश्चंस गलत हो गए. 10 क्वेश्चन आपने अटेम्प्ट किए, गलत हो गया, -0.25 आ गया. 10 गलतियां इस पेपर में डेफिनेटली आई एम नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग, होना नहीं चाहिए था. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं, बट आई एम श्योर दिस इज अ लर्निंग फॉर एवरीवन. जीके की बात करते हैं. आई एम श्योर you people found it easy. Quite a lot of them are easier, but some questions I have my reservations. मतलब जहाँ पे मुझे उम्मीद था कि ऑलमोस्ट 100%, इफ नॉट 100%, 90-95% अटेम्प्ट तो होना ही चाहिए था. मैं एक बहुत सिंपल सा एग्जांपल लेता हूँ. क्वेश्चन नंबर 36 की बात करते हैं, क्वेश्चन नंबर 34 की बात करते हैं. 34 में देखो, और मीडियम लेवल पे क्लासिफाई हुआ है, जिसका आंसर पैसेज में ही दिया हुआ था. मतलब अगर क्वेश्चन नंबर 34 देखोगे ध्यान से तो पैसेज में ही इसका आंसर था। और यहाँ पर जितने भी इवेंट्स कवर्ड हुए हैं, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द फर्स्ट इवेंट विच वाज अबाउट इंटरनेशनल क्रिमिनल कोर्ट, पुतिन के अगेंस्ट जो वारंट लास्ट ईयर इश्यू हुआ था, तो ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट पैसेज नहीं था, ये आई थिंक डेफिनेटली कॉन्टेक्स्ट में था। और अगर आप देखो तो जो बार्स रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, आप देखो तो लोगों के अटेम्प्ट कम है, बट दोज हु हैव अटेम्प्टेड मेजॉरिटी हैव देम गॉट इट राइट एक्चुअली। PM's Poland visit is not a very old event actually, it's a very new one। पार्टनरशिप साइन हुआ, सोशल सिक्योरिटी एग्रीमेंट पैसेज के अंदर मेंशन था, वो क्वेश्चन पे भी लोगों ने बहुत कम अटेम्प्ट किया है। आई एम रियली सरप्राइज। जीआई टैक्स ऑलमोस्ट ये थर्ड मॉक होगा जहां पे हमने कवर किया है। और जीआई टैग एक वन ऑफ द इवेंट्स आई वुड से कि जिसका डेटा ऑलमोस्ट हर सेकेंड मंथ में अपडेट हो जाता है। दिस टाइम विद सो मेनी कमिंग फ्रॉम यूपी, you see how it has changed। UP has become the state with the highest number of GI tags। तमिलनाडु होता था, उसके पहले कर्नाटका होता था, तो पिछले एक साल में डेटा काफी चेंज हुआ है और ऑलमोस्ट हर सेकेंड मंथ में जीआई टैक्स का डेटा अपडेट हो जाता है। बनारस became one of the मतलब with the highest geographical this thing actually as a city, if हम बात करें या रीजन बात करें। गगनयान डेफिनेटली इज इन न्यूज अभी मतलब अनाउंस किया था इसी साल, चारों जो एस्ट्रोनॉट्स हैं उनके नाम पीएम ने, और ये जो मिशन है ये नेक्स्ट ईयर लॉन्च होने वाला है। तो ये भी था काफी हद तक, बट ठीक है, इसके क्वेश्चंस को देखते हुए आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड थोड़ी सी झिझक रही होगी, थोड़े से एप्रीशियंस रहे होंगे माइंड में अटेम्प्ट को लेकर के, बट आई एम श्योर नेक्स्ट टाइम यू विल टेक केयर ऑफ। ग्लोबल इनोवेशन इंडेक्स 2023 के रिपोर्ट पे क्वेश्चन बेस्ड था, अब तो 2024 का भी रिपोर्ट आ गया है। और खास करके अगर मैं बात करूं तो क्वेश्चन अबाउट स्विट्जरलैंड बॉस 13 years in a row, ये तो पता ही होना चाहिए। और मैं पहले भी बोल चुका हूं, देखो जो ये ट्रीटीज होते हैं, इंडेक्सेस होते हैं, ये जो चीजें ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं, इनको तो करना ही होता है। तो अगर आपने नहीं किया था, HDI हो गया, ग्लोबल इनोवेशन इंडेक्स हो गया, ये सारी चीजें तो डेफिनेटली इंपॉर्टेंट है, डेटा ड्रिवन है, डेफिनेटली इंपॉर्टेंट, यू विल हैव टू डू दिस। लेट मी ब्रिंग दी सरप्राइजिंग एलिमेंट्स ओवर हियर, लुक एट दिस। 7.5%, where the average score is roughly around 21 for the top 100, 7.5% of 771 even managed to get a zero। 32% have got a score less than 10, 32.10% have got a score less than 10। और 0.7% तो निगेटिव में गए। ये निगेटिव वाले लोग मुझे थोड़े समझ से बाहर हैं, बट दिस इज समथिंग विच इज रियली वरिंग एक्चुअली। सो ये जो डेटा है ना, इफ यू फॉल इन दिस कैटेगरी देन यू हैव टू सीरियसली लुक एट योर प्रिपरेशन। बॉस कुछ नहीं करना है, मैं तुम लोगों को सजेस्ट कर रहा हूं जिनके 32 पॉइंट जो इस कैटेगरी में है, मॉक्स पुराने वाले जितने हैं उनके जीके को चेक करो, जो डेली जीके इनसाइट्स हैं, डेली हिंदू है और मंथन, ये कवर करना शुरू करो, भले तुम्हें 2 घंटे एक्स्ट्रा डेली जगना पड़े। दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, वरना समय निकलता जाएगा। लेस देन 56, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट 56 दिन है, 57 दिन नहीं है। तो यू नीड टू वर्क हार्ड गाइस, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, यू कांट अफोर्ड टू हैव एनीथिंग लेस देन 15 इन जीके। कहानी चेंज हो जाएगी बिल्कुल तरीके से देखोगे तो। लीगल रीजनिंग अगेन ऑफ कोर्स इंटरेस्टिंग है, लोगों को अच्छा लगता है, बट lot of medium difficulty level question this time, easy as compared to the previous one, fewer when I compare it with the medium difficulty, एक दो। but देखो this data is reflecting your performance, as Govind said कि difficult नहीं होना चाहिए था, इंग्लिश की बात कर रहे हैं, technically those questions were not difficult and that is what can apply to every section, but this is how you have performed in the paper and we are showing your performance here out here। So look at the easy ones actually, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, almost 11 easy questions over here। But yahan par, before I call on Govind, let me show you this data quickly and why I am talking about this 11 easy question hone ke bawajood, if I see this one where 16.9, 17% students have not even scored more than 10, that's a point of worry। बॉस क्या कर रहे हो, ये सोचने वाली बात है, ये सोचने वाली बात है। 7% have scored zero in this section। I mean legal people are saying कि लीगल इजी हो गया है, थोड़ा सा अच्छा लगता है और इजी भी हो गया। अब इजी है तो व्हाट इज दिस सिचुएशन, इफ आई लुक एट दिस, आई वुड सिंपली लुक एट दिस। मैं नेगेटिव्स की बात ही नहीं करता हूं यहाँ पे, अगर 3 लोगों के नेगेटिव भी आए थे इस पेपर में आउट ऑफ 771, बट इफ आई लुक एट दिस डेटा, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑलमोस्ट 24% स्टूडेंट गेटिंग लेस देन 10 और 10। दैट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ वरी। जिस सेक्शन का एवरेज स्कोर फॉर टॉप 100 इज 24। सो आई विल कम बैक, बट प्लीज understand, friends, this is something serious. If you are into this range, 16.9% or that 7%, you have to seriously look at what you are doing. Ye important hai, and that is the reason why we are bringing this data to you. Govind, your take for this section.
Absolutely, sir. I'll take you to the questions, guys, so that we can understand whether these questions were actually tough or was it a silly mistake or was this a question which you should not have attempted. Let's talk about the three questions which have taken a major hit in accuracy. Let's talk about question 55. Now, this was related to a passage which was for criminal trespass. So, criminal trespass, once you have understood the concept which is very clearly mentioned in the passage, you would understand that there are two components to it. First is entering a particular area where you commit the offense, and then entering with an intention, a malified intention, or a bad intention, or a guilty intention. Two components. Now, there's a particular order to it. When you talk about legal reasoning, everything works in a particular logical flow. First, this condition satisfied, then this condition satisfied, and then you are said to be guilty or non guilty. And that is the logic which you had to use here. When you read the question 55, there was a scientist R who was working in his home lab, and then he invited his friend T to dinner. And R went to the kitchen to get the dinner. T went to his home lab where he was not permitted to go to get hold of some secret formula which R was working on, and he spilled that formula, started a fire. R filed a case of criminal trespass. Very simple question, very simple proposition. You had to tell that whether T is liable or not liable for trespass. Now, all of us can understand that he's liable, but why is he liable? Which is a better option? Now, both are correct options here. You have to tell which is the more correct option or which would come first in the order of precedence. Firstly, you would have to leave beyond the permissible area to even start the offense of trespass, and then you would look at his intention, whether it was good or whether it was malified. So I'm sure most of you would have confused it with option D and not chosen option C, and that is why you got this question wrong. So it is an understandable mistake. I can understand where you guys are coming from. But for future references, remember that in legal section, you have to follow a particular order when you are looking at different criteria or different conditions. So C becomes the right answer because you had to leave the permissible area, and then and there he became liable for trespass. And then comes the intention part, right? So this was one thing. Now, what are the other questions which took a major hit were 72 and 76. Let's go to them as well. 72, this was related to privity of a contract, concept which you probably would have covered in the classes. Now, looking at question 72, this is about a partnership and capital being infused into a partnership. Now, H के father जो है, he entered into a contract with G, but does he have any direct benefit from the firm? No, he's investing on behalf of his son H. So he has no, I would say, involvement or beneficiary agreement with G as a contract holder. So simple answer is B is the suit is invalid because his father derives no benefit from the firm. The simple concept of privity, who can sue and who can be sued. So if you understand the concept, you would see that you have to be a beneficiary in order to be sued or to sue. And that is why B would have been the right choice. Now, I can understand that this was a complex passage. There were multiple new terms which you might not have encountered, or the concept could have been a little tricky. And in that case, you could have left this particular question. It would have made more sense to leave this particular question because the options were also close in comparison to the other questions. For example, question 55 or question 76. So this was a manageable question, but it is understandable if you leave this question, but try to avoid negative marking if you do not understand something. Talking about question 76, also related to this one, this was a pretty simple one. Why? Because, see, A and B entered into a contract. A would transfer his land to B. In return, B would give the money to C. One of A's creditors. B paid half of the sum to C, and this becomes a keyword, promised to pay him the rest of the amount within a month. So यहाँ पे एक different contract, एक different agreement enter हो गया. किसके बीच में? B और C के बीच में. तो सिंपल आपसे पूछा था कि क्या C इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को एनफोर्स करा सकता है? क्यों नहीं करा सकता है? एक नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बन गया ना. C can enforce the contract as per new agreement between him and B. As simple as that. This was a लॉजिकल सेंस था इस क्वेश्चन में. लीगल रीजनिंग भी नहीं था, ये लॉजिकल रीजनिंग था कि मान लो मेरा और अमितेंद्र सर का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है एंड मुझे अमितेंद्र सर को पैसे देने हैं एंड मैं फिर आपके साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में आया, आपने मुझे आधे पैसे दिए और आपने बोला अमितेंद्र सर को कि आधे पैसे मैं दे दूंगा, और आपने नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर लिया अमितेंद्र सर के साथ. फिर आपने बोला कि अमितेंद्र सर को पैसे देने हैं, वो वैलिड है कि नहीं? तो ऑब्वियसली इट इज वैलिड बिकॉज यू हैड अ न्यू कॉन्ट्रैक्ट विद अमितेंद्र सर टू रीपे माय डेट. Simple as that. So this can be enforced. इसमें तो बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ सोचने का नहीं था. This was a sitter question and should not have been wrong. You guys probably did not pay attention to this aspect, whereas promised to pay him the rest of the amount, right? This was a new contract, new agreement which was formed. So that was about the legal section. Couple of questions were simple. One question was a little tricky, could have been avoided, even could have been attempted correctly. But yeah, that's all about the legal section. Although the legal section is going pretty good for you guys. So the takeaway is keep learning new things, keep adding up these mistakes into your mistake diary or wherever you are noting down the mistakes. Come back to these mocks before you attempt the next mock. Look at just the mistakes you made and ensure that you do not make the same mistakes again. So yeah, so that would be my take.
Yeah. So, Govind, before I go and talk about the data, I just want in a couple of seconds your view on the logical reasoning section. How would you rate it? Far difficult,
ठीक है.
difficult, or even कैसा ये पेपर जो तुमने सॉल्व किया था इसका लॉजिकल रीजनिंग लेवल कैसा था?
I would say this was a moderate paper. I would not call it very easy. I would not call it difficult also. I would call it a moderate section. But the scores are still not at par when it comes to the difficulty level. I was expecting a little higher of the average score, even of the top 100 average scores. So people need to work on logical reasoning. Logical reasoning, in my opinion, is a very underutilized sections by a lot of aspirants. It is not complicated. It is not tough. Once you have your fundamentals in place, once you know your guidelines, once you know that, okay, these are the certain rules which I need to follow. Vague options hatane, extreme options hatane, question ध्यान से पढ़ना है, scope of the question में रहना है, and questions के keywords identify करने, you would easily get 80 to 90% accuracy. Okay, students are vehemently disagreeing that, saying that this is a difficult paper, but trust me,
But
I
देखो,
have been looking at CLAT papers for past approximately 7-8 years now, 4-5 years as a mentor and 2-3 years as an aspirant. And my experience says that CLAT has given reasoning which has been tougher than this particular paper. I have seen such papers. And to prepare you for the worst, mocks are designed in such a way that you get to see the taste of a difficult paper. So even if you found this paper difficult, which I am not denying, it could have been difficult for you. That depends on the level of preparation for everyone and how you perceive the paper and how you manage your time in that particular paper. But from a neutral perspective, from a CLAT exam perspective, this was a moderate level of reasoning. I would not rate it difficult. Trust me, if it would have been difficult, it would have showed. Many of the aspirants would have missed attempting a lot of questions. Many of you would have seen these red towers in a lot of more questions. You can see only 3 red towers. In a difficult paper, you would see at least 7 or 8 red towers. So that is my take on it. But I completely respect your opinion if you feel that it is difficult. We'll look at the difficult questions, the 3 questions which can be identified. But, sir, I would let you continue here.
yeah. So the reason I have asked you this because this is the data which we are showing is the performance of the students. Okay, so they are saying the majority of the question were of the medium difficult level, and some questions were easier, some questions were difficult, almost equal number actually. Now you know why I asked this question because. Okay, the average score is 16.7 for the top 100 students. But what really made me ask you this question is look at this one. 12.1% of 771 managed to score zero. I will say manage zero. Boss, zero lana mushkil hai. It's like I tell CBSE students, you only work to fail yourself. You don't work towards passing. Pass करना मुश्किल नहीं है. Either you work towards failing yourself in the examination or you work towards more than 90%. Here, people, this percentage of students have managed to get a zero. 2.7% negative. It's all about strategy, how it has gone. But then look at this score 54.4% scored between 0.25 to 10. And if I take into consideration all this sums out to be 535 out of 771. That's the performance. Okay. So I'll give you the screen. I'm sure you want to take those questions before we move on to the final part. So you can take it here.
Oh, sir. So let's look at the questions which were problematic to a lot of you. Let's identify why the red towers are the red towers. So first was a flaw question. Now I know I keep getting this feedback in a lot of my YT sessions as well that flaw ke questions galat ho rahe hain, paradox ke questions galat ho rahe hain. And I get it. It's a tough concept for new aspirants. For people who are aware of the concept, it is not that tough. It is manageable. I would not call it simple and easy because I know it's not. I would keep it realistic, but it is manageable once you read the question carefully. So, what was the question? You have to identify the flaw in the argument. What was the argument? I'll sum it up. I won't be reading the entire paragraph, but the argument, more or less, in a gist, was that they are comparing a wrench with a business, with a company, and saying that just like a wrench does not have any responsibility, a company should also have no responsibility. That is what the premise of the paragraph is. That is what the main argument is. Now, what is the flaw here? The simple flaw is how can you compare, how can you keep a tool and a business analogous in moral responsibility? एक wrench की moral responsibility और एक business की moral responsibility को आप without any justification कैसे compare कर सकते हो? Wrench is a tool. A business is a whole entity with complex operations and XYZ things. So simply option A, the argument assumes without justification that tools and business are analogous in their lack of moral responsibility. Simple answer था कि without any justification a wrench is being compared to a business with respect to moral responsibilities. में second thoughts क्या थे यहाँ पे? अगर मैं बाकी ऑप्शन भी पढ़ूं, the argument fails to consider that a business may consist of many individuals, all of whom contributed. Does the argument say anything like that a business is run by only a single entity? क्या ऐसा कुछ है हमारे पास? नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So we cannot say that. The argument overlooks the fact that business can operate in a manner that influences the behavior of individuals. Behavior of individuals की यहाँ पे बात करी गई. Is this within the scope of the argument? No, it's not. The argument score ignores the possibility that business can adopt ethical guidelines to mitigate harm. Again, beyond the scope. C और D तो बिल्कुल आर्ग्यूमेंट के बाहर ही जा रहे हैं. आर्ग्यूमेंट में बिहेवियर ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स की, एथिकल गाइडलाइंस की कोई बात ही नहीं हुई है. बात किसकी हुई है? मॉरल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की. कंपैरिजन किसका हुआ है? एक टूल का और बिजनेस का. तो सिंपल यार, ऑप्शन ए वुड बी द राइट आंसर. I don't know why you guys probably did not understand what identifying a flaw means, or you did not read the options carefully. I do not understand what went wrong here. But trust me, these kind of questions you have to get it right if you want to make it to the top 3, top 5 NLUs. Then ये वाले questions आप गलत करना afford नहीं कर सकते. इससे बहुत ज़्यादा टफ क्वेश्चंस आपको ढूंढने पड़ेंगे गलत करने के लिए. इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस नहीं गलत कर सकते. ठीक है, बाकी कौन से क्वेश्चंस थे जिनमें आपको दिक्कत आई? लेट्स लुक एट देम एज वेल. क्वेश्चन 96, which of the following if true would most weaken the argument that a business cannot have a moral responsibility? तो यहाँ पे क्या करना था? यहाँ पे ऑथर के आर्ग्यूमेंट को सिंपली वीकन करना था. अब यहाँ पे वीकन कैसे करेंगे? ऑथर जो कह रहा है उसके ऑपोजिट कुछ बात कह के, या फिर उसका जो प्रेमिस है उसको डिस्ट्रॉय करके. तो देखो ऑप्शंस. ए कह रहा है businesses that have been held legally accountable for actions can cause significant harm even when no single individual could be identified. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा वीकन कर रहा है to a certain extent, but I'm not very convinced with this. Businesses are often viewed by society as entities contribute positively. ये कैसे वीकन कर रहा है? ये तो थोड़ा वेग सा है. This cannot be true. Corporations have decision-making processes that can result in actions that affect the environment regardless of individual intention. Environment कहाँ से आ गया यहाँ पे? बिल्कुल ही वेग ऑप्शन है. कैसे वीकेंड करेगा ये? तो बचे किसमें? ए और डी के बीच में. अब डी क्या कह रहा है? रेंच इज अ सिंपल टूल विदाउट डिसीजन मेकिंग कैपेबिलिटी. बिजनेस इन्वॉल्व्स कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोसेसेस. और कंपैरिजन किसका हुआ है? रेंच और बिजनेस का. मॉरल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को लेके हुआ है. तो वीकेंड करने के लिए हम क्या बोलेंगे? वीकेंड करने के लिए ये बोलेंगे कि भाई रेंच एक सिंपल टूल है और बिजनेस जो है कॉम्प्लेक्स ऑपरेशन है जिसके प्रोसेसेस होते हैं. ऑथर इससे उल्टी बात कह रहा है. ऑथर कंपेयर कर रहा है कि रेंच को भी जिम्मेदार नहीं बता सकते, बिजनेस को भी जिम्मेदार नहीं बता सकते, क्योंकि वो तो बस एक टूल है. तो सिंपली ऑप्शन डी बिकम्स द मोस्ट वीकनिंग स्टेटमेंट, मोस्ट स्पेसिफिक टू योर आर्ग्यूमेंट. कौन उसको वीकन कर रहा है? ऑप्शन डी वीकन कर रहा है, राइट? नाउ और कौन सा क्वेश्चन था जो आप लोगों का गलत हुआ? इट वाज 101 इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग. व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इफ ट्रू वुड बी द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ द आर्ग्यूमेंट प्रेजेंटेड इन द पैसेज? तो पहले देखो आर्ग्यूमेंट क्या है पैसेज में. आर्ग्यूमेंट इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग इज रिलेटेड टू कंपैशन फटीग, कि जो लोग केयर वाले प्रोफेशन में काम करते हैं उनको उनका कंपैशन खत्म हो जाता है, कंपैशन फटीग हो जाती है उनको. अब आर्ग्यूमेंट हमारा is related to that. Now what is the question saying? Which of the following if true would be the strongest criticism of the argument? ठीक है, तो क्रिटिसाइज करना है, एक तरीके से वीकेन ही करना है आर्ग्यूमेंट को. आर्ग्यूमेंट ओवर एम्फेसाइजेस द रोल ऑफ शेयर्ड ह्यूमैनिटी एंड एम्पैथी. ओवर एम्फेसाइज तो नहीं किया है. I can't say that it is overemphasis on the role of shared humanity. Argument does not provide empirical evidence to support the claim that shared grief is a primary cause. You do not need empirical evidence for such things. How do you put empirical evidence to someone's grief, to someone's emotions. How do you empirically or scientifically measure grief? तो ये तो नहीं हो सकता ना. Empirical evidence grief को measure करने का कैसे हो सकता है? And D is saying the argument assumes that all professionals in caregiving roles experience compassion fatigue in the same way, ignoring individual difference. अब देखो यहाँ all आ गया, extreme option बन गया. मैंने आपको बताया है extreme options 99% of the times ठीक नहीं होते. बचा क्या? Option D. The argument fails to consider that compassion fatigue can be significantly reduced through institutional support. ठीक है, यहाँ क्रिटिसाइज कर दिया आपने सिंपली कि आपने बोल दिया कि इंस्टीट्यूशनल सपोर्ट, ट्रेनिंग और मेंटल हेल्थ मिल जाएगी तो कंपैशन फटीग कम हो जाएगा. ऑथर कह रहा है कम नहीं होगा, तो क्रिटिसिज्म हो गया. और आपने ऑल भी नहीं बोला, आपने नेवर भी नहीं बोला, आपने सिग्निफिकेंटली रिड्यूस बोला, विच इज अ फेयर थिंग टू से, एंड दैट मेक्स ऑप्शन बी द राइट आंसर. ठीक है, आई नो यू माइट फील कि सर आपके लिए सिंपल लग रहा है, हम जब मॉक में अटेम्प्ट करते तो टफ लगता है. दैट इज अ वेरी वैलिड काउंटर आर्ग्यूमेंट टू मेक, बट ट्रस्ट मी विद प्रैक्टिस आप लोगों को भी ये क्वेश्चन सिंपल लगने लगेंगे. ऑल इट टेक्स इज प्रैक्टिस. ठीक है, मैं भी ये जन्म से सीख के नहीं आया था. आई लर्नड इट बाय प्रैक्टिस. आई वाज एन एस्पिरेंट लाइक यू ऑल, एंड विद प्रैक्टिस दिस गेट्स बेटर. ठीक है, सो ट्राई टू इंश्योर दैट यू रीड द क्वेश्चंस एंड द ऑप्शंस वेरी केयरफुली एंड फॉलो द सेट गाइडलाइंस व्हिच हैव बीन शेयर्ड विद यू. वो गाइडलाइंस किसी पर्पस से शेयर करिए कि वेग ऑप्शन नहीं चूज करना, आउट ऑफ प्रेमिस नहीं चूज करना, एक्सट्रीम ऑप्शन नहीं चूज करना, क्वेश्चन ध्यान से पढ़ना है. अगेन इट बॉइल्स डाउन टू ऑल ऑफ दैट. यू गाइज नो दैट आप बस अप्लाई नहीं कर पा रहे उसको बिकॉज ऑफ insufficient practice or because you are losing your demeanor or your cool during the mock test. So make sure those things are in place and make sure you learn from your mistakes. Same mistakes दोबारा मत करो, नई नई mistakes करो, same मत करो. So that would be my take.
Thanks, Govind. I'm sure they have got a new insight today, or definitely they will follow what you have said. So let's move on to the final section. And before we conclude the session, the QT mess, I won't take time over here. In fact, see data for yourself, except for two questions. Every single, I didn't color code because we have been speaking about it so much. This section you have to attempt, boss. Look at what data says. All of them were easy ones, more than 70% accuracy, except for two of them actually. So this would have, but look at the data, contrary data over here. 29.7% of you did not attempt the questions actually. Not a single question was attempted actually. And this is, please understand, you cannot win this game without QT, or forget about that. Any section, every section carries its own weightage. You have to perform in every section. If you believe I can win this game with 4 sections, you might be in trouble. You might be putting yourself in trouble. Please don't do that. And if I look at this entire scheme, entire numbers actually, if I if I look at from those who have got it got negative as well, look at this. This is almost 34%, 35% actually. This is something which you must look into, think through. Where I've been showing this data right from day one. Ki boss, those who are attempting, they are finding it easier. Just spend some time on this section. Give yourself some time. 10 minute to nikalo yaar is section ke liye. That is what is important. You get that 2-3 once now, you'll start getting 4-5 easily actually. That's how this section has always been actually. So lastly, we move on to the final and the concluding part of the session, which is the action plan. In fact, while Govind sir was taking you through the logical reasoning part, I was simply writing it over here. And that's my take. And of course, I invite Govind sir takes as well. I don't think I need to talk about section wise strategy now with almost 56 days left. My point is very simple. Whatever stage you are in, you have access to every previous mock in your account as well. Those who do not have access to the physical one, just in case you did not give it earlier. For all these sections, do one thing. Just open your previous mock, start solving the questions once again. That is what you are supposed to do. इसके अलावा कुछ भी एक्स्ट्रा करने की जरूरत नहीं. Of course, GK में you will continue the preparation as it is going. News, Hindu analysis, the GK insights, reading the newspaper, doing manthan, mocks, upcoming mocks, but open the previous mocks as well for all sections. Don't even look at any other content. Believe me, if you start solving your previous 30-40 mocks which you have taken already, that would really help you to redo the concepts once again. And if I were to say something, what you should not be doing, boss, procrastination. Last time we bola tha when I and Siddharth were there, not allowed at all. If you have got an issue, you understood there is a problem, solve it immediately before you do anything else. That might mean that also means that you need to spend some extra hours now from here on for next 50 days. That is what my take would be, what you should be doing. And don't forget to take the MCLAT 5th and 6th October. It will be available. So don't forget to take that. Very important for you. It will give you a very clear idea where do you stand in the competition right now when non-civil students will also be taking the paper. Okay, so Govind, your take, what they should be doing in the next 55, 56 days and what they should not be doing at all.
But in addition to what you rightly said, I would just re-emphasize the importance of quant because I have been in that position where I used to run away from quant, where I used to fear quant. And trust me, once my mentor at CL back then convinced me to take up mock, I started gaining marks. I started gaining confidence. As sir said, start getting 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark, and then you would slowly progress toward 4 marks and 5 marks. And trust me, as an aspirant, I know the difference 2 marks, 3 marks, or even 0.25 marks can make. I missed NLU Delhi by 0.25 marks, and that still haunts me to the day. And I don't want that to happen to any one of you because of a 1 mark or 2 mark in the QT section. And if you don't believe me and Amitendra sir, believe Mishika, who is an aspirant just like you. She's saying she started attending RTNLU and then started gaining marks in quant. So please, if you are someone who's not doing quant or not giving requisite attention to quant, please start doing that. And as sir said, keep giving your mocks consistently, revising your previous mocks, making note down your mistakes and not do the same mistakes again. Issue is saying you prefer doing the sectionals or the mocks, both of them. See, do sectionals for the subjects which you feel you need more practice for. It could be reasoning, it could be quant. Definitely quant for all of you. All of you need more practice for quant. So definitely don't ignore the sectionals for quant and solve as many sectionals you can while you prepare for the mock. Sectionals is sort of like a pre warm up. जैसे वार्म अप टेस्ट खेलती है इंडिया बिफोर प्लेइंग द एक्चुअल टेस्ट मैच, सो उस तरीके से सेक्शनल्स को ट्रीट करो आप कि थोड़ा सा वार्म अप हो जाए मॉक के लिए एंड गलतियां भी पता चल जाए. इट्स अ विन विन सिचुएशन इफ यू do sectionals before taking a mock. It gears you up for a mock and it also helps you identify mistakes. Will the All India mock be available on Aspiration portal? Sir, this question is for
Yeah,
you.
no. So before that, SN, I'll definitely ask Gaurav sir. But Anshika, the All India mock will be available like any other mock. So it will be available offline at centers as well, and it will be also available online. Those who cannot manage to go to the centers, so it will get activated on 5th and 6th. It will be there actually. But if you're writing offline, you can take it offline at the respective center. In fact, your countdown mock 9 is All India mock actually. So that is coming as an All India mock. So it will be available there as well. Okay. Okay. So with that, we come to an end for today's session. So of course, next time we'll be covering the All India mock only. So as you know, we cover the mocks which are held on the weekend. So we'll be covering the All India mocks. So I'm sure you'd be definitely, I would be very happy. We would be very happy to see you then. One last question before we close: should we prefer sectional and mocks or leftover practice tests from modules of RC and CR? Leftover module at this point of time, this is really surprising. I think definitely do that as well. So for you, it means extra hours, what I was talking about. Do that as well. I thought that material is over now. Chalo, we'll see you next Wednesday. Next time it will be a Wednesday. Next time it will not be a Thursday. Yesterday being 2nd of October, but Govind sir was gracious enough. He took the session. He did not enjoy his holiday. We all did. You did, I did. Okay, so thank you, Govind, for that. And tomorrow, guys, we'll be back with the strategy session on less than 2 months of CLAT. What should be your strategy now? Okay, so we'll be back. See you tomorrow before we catch up once again together next Wednesday. कल मिलते हैं दोबारा 8 बजे. चलो, bye bye. Thank you, Govind.
Bye bye. Thank you, guys. We'll be meeting tomorrow. Hindu analysis. Mein. See you all there. Tata.